Well, here we all are back with Behind the Buzz, a Public Fit Theater Company's occasional podcast discussing the production processes and backstage recipes that go into the creation of our season of plays and staged readings. This is season number 3, episode number 6. I'm Joe Kucan, APF's producing director, and I'm joined, as always, by artistic director Anne-Marie Pereth.
Hi there.
And today we'll be talking about August Wilson's The Piano Lesson, the third and final main stage production of our 2022-23 season. We'll soon be joined by two of the performers from that play, Jamie Maurice Clay and Ranney. But first, AM, this is a monster, right? When did you first realize the epic nature of this Pulitzer Prize-winning play?
I didn't know what I didn't know until I knew it.
Okay, that's not really an answer, but
yes. Well, I didn't know it was a monster.
Yeah.
Until about 3 weeks into rehearsal.
Oh wow.
Yeah, which is pretty late in the process because I was brought on. Well, I wasn't brought on. I decided to co-direct this project with Jason Nias.
We should mention, yes, it's directed by yourself and Jason Nias, founder of Melody and the actor About Town. We've seen him in Cirque du Soleil. He's been on the podcast before.
Yes. And obviously he has a cultural closeness to the piece, which I do not. And so he was going to take the lead in that matter. But, you know, having founded a Public Fit, I have directed many productions. I've gone through the technical process of directing many projects, and I've worked with a lot of designers. And I knew on this project that I would like to support Jason in that particular way. So that was going to be my role in the project. But very early on in the process, we had to replace some actors, and so we had to hire an out-of-town actor who is actually here, and I'm so glad he's on the podcast. So we didn't have him in
Spoiler alert, we'll talk about Ranney in a little while.
And having him not be in the room and having the stage management team who did a wonderful job.
No judgment there.
Yes, reading his role. I realized very quickly what actors bring to the table and how we were missing that piece in rehearsal. And much of the information that the character of Doker and the character of Whining Boy bring to the table, they relay the history of the family history of these characters. They talk a lot about the exposition of the play, and because they were not there, I realized how difficult the story was going to be to convey to the audience, to make it clear.
There's also a rhythm thing that August Wilson does that's hard to capture if you're not invested as a performer. If you're a stage manager just reading the lines, you may not, and again, you're right, no judgment about the quality of that support, but you may not be invested in the rhythm of that language and the way the play flows from those words.
Right, and actually, I want to give credit where credit is due. Ranney and I had many conversations about the rhythm of the piece, and I didn't really, of course, rhythm is always important when you're directing any sort of play. It's always key, but there is a music to the play that I didn't understand until we had Ranney in the room.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, let's bring him in. Let's talk.
Yeah, let's do
bring
it.
the gentleman in first. Let me introduce. I'm going to start. I'm going to introduce Jamie. Jamie Maurice Clay was first seen at a Public Fit in our stage reading of Skeleton Crew, and he was also part of the process that helped bring An Oak Tree to production. You may have seen him in Passover and The Royale with the Lab, LV, and in Broadway in the Hood's production of A Soldier's Play out at the Smith Center. He trained at the Susan Batson Studios in New York City and has studied with acting instructors Carl Ford, Richard Handy, and Nina Binder. The Piano Lesson marks Jamie's first main stage show with a Public Fit. Hey, thanks for showing up.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being had. And then there's Ranney. We're also joined by Ranney, an award-winning actor, director, poet, writer, comedian, singer, musician, and international teaching artist with Patel Conservatory. Ranney, I was gonna list all your credits, but we've only got like an hour. Are you okay with that?
And he's also a painter. I just noticed on his Instagram page he's a painter.
I'll add it to the thing, but I can't go through the whole list of credits. You good with that?
Unfortunately, he's not a sous chef. But yeah, that's me, Ranney.
Vegas audiences may have seen Ranney out at NCT in Seven Guitars or in Water by the Spoonful. A true international performer, he is headlined at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, the Comedy Cellar in Dublin, and at London's The Comedy Store. He was the premier comedian for Laugh Tuesdays, Apollo Theatre's professional comedy club in Harlem, sharing stages with Paul Mooney, Bill Bellamy, and Martin Lawrence.
This all relates to he's old.
Well, when did
Renaissance man
when
right
did you
here.
found when did you found the Prometheus
This all
project?
relates to he's old. That would be, I would say, early 95, 96.
See, that's not that so old. I remember '96. That's a performance technique program for incarcerated folk. Yeah.
Yes, both detention center kids. There's a junior version for detention centers,
Yeah.
and then there's the adult version that when I go into prisons.
God, you are busy. And I should say though that APF's version of the piano lesson brings you nearly full cycle. Right, with this production, you will have portrayed 4 of the 5 male characters in the play in various venues. Is that right?
5 of the 6. I was also Sutter's ghost in the same. I was. My silhouette was Sutter's ghost.
That's
in the
awesome.
same production when I was Avery.
Oh, I love it. Well, let's just start off light. Then, as an August Wilson veteran and scholar, what's the piano lesson about?
The piano lesson is a struggle about what do you do with legacy, and it's seeped in the African American culture, and August is defining questions. I always say here to engage the audience, but it's about a family heirloom that has a lot of pain and history attached to it, and you have 2 siblings arguing over it. One wants to take that heirloom, the piano, and sell it to get the land where their ancestors were impressed.
And that's the character that Jamie plays, Boy Willie.
Yeah, and then the other, his sister, wants to preserve the family heirloom. And that's just the first domino that knocks off a series of plot points that he reveals through the wonderful characters of this play.
And it's kind of a mystery play, too. There are a lot
yeah.
of mysteries that are set up in the show, most of which I think kind of get answered, some that don't, but there are ghosts involved,
Yeah,
and
that's
who did what to whom. And
August did this brilliant thing, and I think just about all of the cycle, presenting these really dense hybrids. You know, his plays are a combination of tragedies, dramas, comedies, dark comedy, mysteries, whodunits, and several of his plays. There's whodunits,
Yeah.
I mean, he Pulp Fiction before Pulp Fiction,
Right.
When he made Ma Rainey.
Yeah.
right. So,
Jamie, what was your first reaction to the play when you originally read it?
It was hard to grasp the words.
Really? Why?
Yeah. When I first read it back in 2013, and as I was reading it, I always got caught up on the words, just how he wrote the words, and then like you spoke before, the rhythm of it.
Yeah.
There is a certain rhythm, and if you're not used to his rhythm, then you're going to trip over those words. You're going to just get all caught up. But initially, when I first read it, I thought it was a beautiful play.
Yeah.
Just a poetic story, and the character that I was attached to was Lyman.
Really?
First.
Why is
that?
that?
I felt like he was me around that time. I was just a reserved guy, chill, don't want much, I was like for the ladies, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, Lyman's just, he's
Lyman
chill.
spends
He
a lot of
doesn't
time
talk
talking
as
about
much.
women.
And Boy Willie is just this, just a rambling, just a talkative person that just keeps going, talks about this piano, getting land. And I wasn't really drawn to that when I first read it.
Yeah.
It was all about Lyman and him getting the girl and him and Bernice getting together. That was my favorite scene.
Spoiler alert.
But flash forward 10 years later, here I am getting the role for Boy Willie. So I read it again. And I'm just in complete awe of just the, and I'm older and, around time I was like 24 probably. And I'm just reading Boy Willie, and I'm just like, man, this is a beautiful dude. Like, he is courageous. He's passionate. He knows exactly what he wants, and he's fearless. And that's what I was just like, yes, this is the character that I've been waiting to play. Like, somebody's just and it's so complicated. He's so complex as a character. He has so many mixed emotions going on. And I feel like it would have. I feel like it was a challenge, and it has been a challenge.
Can I ask you something? Because I know that early on in the rehearsal process, you were concerned about creating a stereotype with Boy Willie. You were afraid of being a cartoon. You didn't want to present him in a way that did not acknowledge and honor and appreciate his humanity.
Yeah. Yes, because he, like I said, he's very talkative and he's passionate, but to some people, it can come off as an angry black man. And I didn't want to just sit up there and just yell my lines and be Johnny One Note throughout the whole play.
Well, you've accomplished that. I mean, I watch. No, seriously, I watch you in this show, and I am just flabbergasted. I mean, it's not just the line load, and the line load is tremendous. Mm-hmm. It's not just the line load, but when I see you go through the show by the end, I look at a man who's run a marathon almost. You just look exhausted. Is it an exhausting?
Oh, very exhausting. I'm talking about after the show, I have a headache, I'm sweating, my voice is damn near gone.
We're not paying these people enough.
Like, this character is, but I love it. I love it. I love the character work. This is what I go for. Characters like this that just use all of me, like a character that just, you need to put all of yourself into that character and just go all out. And that's what I love about Boy Willie. Like, he not only is the main character in it, but he's just everywhere.
Yeah.
He's just everywhere.
Yeah, I remember when we had that conversation about that you had to be larger than life, and you expressed your concern about finding the humanity. But what I've seen now, now that the show is open, is I see a man who's passionate, who's filled with desire, who has vision beyond the world of Pittsburgh, right? And that's that's my, and I don't know August Wilson, but he had vision, right? And so he was able to what seems right plays that created characters who had vision, and that's what I see on stage. I don't see the angry black man. I see a massive, epic character being manifested through you.
Yeah,
I mean, it's remarkable work. A lot of that is in the writing, though. Ranney, can I ask you about the writing? Emery and I, one of the first things that we like to do is look for the character that most fervently expresses the playwright's viewpoint, that may actually represent the playwright in some ways. In a lot of plays, it's very easy to find. Glass Menagerie, he's right there.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
you know exactly who Tennessee Williams is identifying with. In August Wilson plays, it is much harder to sort of identify the Wilson perspective because they all seem to have it.
It's the same in every play.
Tell me about that.
It's the ancestors.
So it's characters that aren't probably even on stage.
Right. It's the ancestors. The closest you'll get to a character that represents August that's physically on stage, maybe on Esther. But it's the ancestors, the historical perspective, which is why I think he, in this draconian task of putting together the cycle that he so brilliantly put together, I think in that effort to not simplify.
Yeah.
I've said to you several times that, he in the way he does it, he shows that the black community is not a monolith.
Right.
Well, to cover that thoroughly, to sit back and you watch it every night. You watch the audiences probably oscillate between going, well, Boy Willie's right. No, Bernice is right. No, Bernice is right. No, Boy Willie's right.
Yeah.
That's not an easy feat as far as playwrights,
I agree.
Even some of the greatest have a tendency, you go, yeah, they were obviously leaning with this character. But no, he thoroughly shows Boy Willie's point of view and then turns right around in the next second and thoroughly shows Bernice's point of view. The end of Act 1 is a masterclass in showing two different points of view. Boy Willie spent, and by the way, not only does he have vision, and I'm going to go a little side for a second. I keep finding out the common ground me and Jamie have is just striking to me. One thing I only bring up because he brought it up during the buzz, but we both lost our fathers before we played Boy Willie. I just found out, as you just heard, we both saw ourselves as a lineman before we were pulled into the play, and then was challenged by the character of Boy Willie.
Oh, that's remarkable.
And then there's many other things that he said during the process that I've just kind of sat back and went, this is interesting.
So Jamie, as a young man, does this terrify you that this is what you're going to age into?
Yeah, right.
I'm looking into the future right there.
Yeah. You've seen it, but
Jamie, you told a remarkable story at the last buzz for this play about your father and about a keyboard. Would you mind telling that story again here? Because I think more people should hear it. It was it was the first time I'd heard it. I found it really touching.
Yeah, my father passed last year in May, and then I get the role of Boy Willie in September, October. I read it and I see that Boy Willie plays the piano. Yeah, and It didn't cross my mind yet, but my dad had a keyboard. I didn't even play it all the way up until I started reading the piano lesson. It just sat there. And I started, I had to learn the boogie woogie. So here I am, hop on YouTube, see what boogie woogie is, turn the keyboard on. And, I'm starting. And then as I'm learning the boogie woogie, I'm like, wow, like... Boy Willie, dad, died and left him piano, and here I am playing a keyboard that my dad had left me, when he died, and it clicked. I was like, oh my gosh, like art imitates life imitates art.
Mm-hmm. Did that affect the way you approach the character going into the play?
Oh, yeah.
Because your character is not dismissive of the piano, but wants it for a very specific purpose, a financial. He sees it as a financial tool to achieve the dream of owning an amount of land, and he's going to sell that piano. Bernice ain't going to sell that piano, but he wants to sell that piano and acquire land for it. It sounds like your connection to your father's keyboard is more along the lines of Bernice's way of thinking.
It is, because like here's this keyboard that he left me so I can build this character.
That's remarkable.
To make it what it is today. And then still, it's Boy Willie is still evolving. I'm still evolving Boy Willie.
Sure.
But yeah, just like it helps me just tap into Boy Willie more, and that's where the richness is in that keyboard that like my dad is giving me without him knowing or anything, obviously, but
serendipity.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was just so crazy how that happened.
Who knows how the universe works?
Right, that part. Yeah. And I'm just so, my dad didn't leave me anything like as far as like financial or anything like that, and he left me like I was left with his things, and I feel like it's perfect. Like this keyboard is so priceless to me because it's growing me so much as an artist, and this is something that my dad left me. And I'm not gonna lie, here I am thinking like, man, like I'm maybe getting a little too personal with this, but here I am like thinking my dad didn't leave me anything, but in reality he did. He left me everything that I needed to do what I love to do, and that's to act and to tap into these characters. And Boy Willie is so important to me. He's so important to me because I feel like he is attached to my dad. I feel like without my dad giving me that keyboard, I don't know. Like, who's to say like I would have had Boy Willie the way I would have? I don't know. But all I know is that I came into this character knowing that I'm going to be the best Boy Willie that I can possibly be, and just tell this story and give it all up to my dad. Like these performances have been to my father.
Yeah, but it's not just there's the utilitarian value of literally having a keyboard to learn to play, just the basic process of playing but also the connection to the idea of ancestry that was given to you. So more than the keyboard, this idea of a connection to a past through an object Yeah. It's just I love that story.
Yeah, he has his energy on it. He told me, like, I remember I went over there to go see him, and he was like, I got this new keyboard. He took me into the garage. He sat down, he started playing on the keyboard, and he was like, yeah, I come out here, when I want to get away from the family.
Was he a musician?
No. Family whole on his side, family, my uncles and everything, musicians, like church. Everybody, my cousins, they could play the drums, the piano, the guitar, just everything. When my dad he wasn't one of the ones, And this is crazy. Like, wow, they all can play instruments very well, and my dad just wasn't the one. But he started playing that, and he showed me, and I just thought it was beautiful just seeing that he has an escape that he can just go to the garage and hop on the keyboard and start playing it, and and I can feel his presence when I turn the keyboard on.
That's a great story. Ranney, you told us that you and Jamie share the loss of a father right around the time of playing this role.
Yeah.
Is that story similar? Is that story similar to what happened? Now you don't play Boy Willie in this production. You play Doker Charles. I'm not asking you guys have competing stories.
No. I got you. No, not in the detail of that story, but just the connection. I carried my father through that process and didn't actually grieve until a day after piano lesson was over.
Really?
Yeah, I carry. So he passed in November of 2002. The piano lesson was in January and February of 2003.
Holy cow! And that's a long time to carry that around.
But it was being, I guess you would say, like the piano, it was being released in certain ways, but the specific of grieving and mourning, I purposefully held that off until the day after that show closed.
Wow.
Yeah. But I something I was going to say earlier that I hope doesn't get lost on the audience, and if it does, it's not on Jamie and his brilliant performance. But one of the things I love about this main character, and I love all of August's, but Boy Willie, is he comes through the door as this, ranting, machismo, seeming almost crazy, testosterone-driven madman in a mad time.
It's 5 a.m. The first thing he asks for is a drink. Where's your bottle?
And as the play goes on, if he was just some caveman basic character who was just bullying people, if that's all he was doing, his mantra would just stay precisely the same. But as the play progresses, his argument is economical at one point. Yeah. It's psychological at one point. Yeah. It's spiritual at one point. Yeah. He's going down the line almost like an Egyptian or Greek philosopher, taking the time to explain to his family why it is essential that they go his way. Now, whether you agree with him or not, his ability to maneuver in that manner is spectacular.
Well,
and August gives him, it's almost like watching a great athlete in their prime, watching him pivot based on what the different strong members of his family puts as an obstacle in his way.
And who he's talking to.
Yes. Yeah, each time. It's not just, I'm going to sell this piano or else. No, it's like, no, here's the reason. This is the economy of it. Okay, you don't get it that way. Here's the psychology of it. Okay, well, let me explain it to you in spiritual terms. He takes his time each time to pivot, to explain in a different way to his family. He covers all the bases. And that tells me so much about the core of A Boy Willie. That the last time we see him as an audience member, there's kind of a bit of an ambiguity. Well, what's going to happen? Blah, 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 blah. But I think we leave, and I definitely feel this in Jamie's performances. I think we leave going, whatever it is, Boy Willie's got this.
He's going to be okay.
Yeah.
There's never any doubt in my mind at the end of the play, spoiler alert, that Boy Willie will find a way to accomplish what he wants to accomplish.
Yes. And in contemporary terms, he would he'd be one of these. I don't know. He may have his own hip hop label. He would be one of these guys who are ahead of the game.
Yeah.
He's setting the tone. He's not sitting back waiting for it to happen or following trends.
Well, you talk about all of this wonderful list of things, but he's also willing to fight the unknown, the unseen.
Yes, right.
The unseen, something that can't be touched.
Yeah.
But he feels the presence of that thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then chooses to believe it. So, if you're willing to go that far, then you're willing to do anything.
Right.
And so that's why I'm not worried about him as a character as well.
And he's well versed in others' point of view and their history as well as his own. I love the fact that he dismisses Bernice's seeing Sutter, and then later in the play, he's explaining the legacy of the ghost of the yellow dog to his niece in detail. It's not just like, oh, and the Boogie Woogie Man came out and woo. No, it's like, no, this is precisely the stories that I was told by my ancestors, and this is how it works. Mm-hmm. And she has questions, which I love that August gives her. And then he responds. He doesn't say, in the old tradition of certain households, just shut up and, be quiet and turn around and focus on the piano or go sit down somewhere. No, he answers all of her questions.
That's the question I have for you, Jamie, is how do you reconcile Boy Willie's professing of, or just sort of dismissing Bernice's visions of seeing Sutter, but still going on and on about the ghosts of the yellow dog being responsible for the deaths of these men back down south? Because it seems like it has to be one or the other. It can't be both.
I don't believe anything Bernice says about Sutter because of. I just came into the house. I just told him about Sutter. I just told him Sutter went down as well about 3 weeks ago. Bernice already has this preconceived notion of me already as my sibling. She knows who I am or what I am, and she wants me out the house right away.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, boom! Here's Sutter's ghost.
I should say that part of the plot is that Boy Willie comes up from the south. A man who he's been working for has fallen down his well and has died. The dead man's brother offers to sell Boy Willie the remaining land. Boy Willie comes north to put the money together to buy that land. So when we talk about Sutter, we're actually talking about Sutter's ghost. Seeing Sutter is seeing Sutter's ghost.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, and so when she's talking about she's seen Sutter ghost, I'm not believing anything she's saying. This is another way of Bernice trying to get me out the house.
Right.
And she's using it. She's running with it because, spoiler alert, she says, I just seen him at the steps calling Boy Willie's name. And it's like, oh, here we go with this. Here she go. All right, she want to get me out the house. Well, I ain't going for it, No, she didn't see no ghost. So there's that. And then, the piggyback off Ranney said, the ghost of the yellow dog just been in our family for years, or everybody around Mississippi. That's just been the story of the ghost of the yellow dog. And so I believe that because that was told to me by Doker or Whining Boy, and that just like stayed with me. So just to hear a Sutter's ghost is so so left to me, and
so here's a question, and Diane, pay attention to this because this might need to be cut right away because this might just be inane. Is there a difference in this play between ghosts and spirits? Because I feel like we have the ghosts of the yellow dog, the ghosts of Sutter, but we have the spirits of the ancestors that inhabit the piano, and that language seems very specific.
We have the Holy Ghost
to me, and we have the Holy Ghost as well. There are three ghosts in the play that Avery talks about. Yes, what's the difference? Ranney, is that a stumper or
no? No. I think in August's world, I think ghosts are baggage. Spirits are guides, I can't recall in any of his plays, and I'm not, again, this is August. I can't speak for Ibsen, but I think August generally use ghost in terms of baggage, and even in Gem of the Ocean, and spirits as these guides, these entities.
That's a great distinction. That's actually a brilliant distinction. Well, not such a dumb question after all, Emery. You gave me that look.
Whoa! Whoa! What just happened?
Right.
Does that sound right to you?
Oh yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, I believe that. Like, yeah, the ghost is just something that is, that's baggage, and that's I would say just a person that or an entity that has unfinished business or attachment to something, whereas opposed to spirit is something that is, that is in our blood, in our heart, and that guides us, our intuition.
Well, I also think too, just in terms of how the play is structured, at the end of the play, another spoiler alert, Boy Willie does actual combat with the ghost. He attacks this baggage-laden ghost that he has been either pretending or just purporting to not believe in at all. And there's a remarkable drawn-out fight scene between you and the ghost, apparently played by Ranney. I had no idea. And I wonder about the symbolism of that, of taking Boy Willie to the point where he is actually doing battle with what you guys have described as a baggage-laden spirit.
Yeah, I believe Sutter Ghost is. I think he is. This is my take on it. Sutter is attached to that piano because of his wife Ophelia, and that was his love of his life.
Complicated history.
Yeah, and she played on it every single day, and so there's that's to it, and that's what, and I don't know the backstory, but Ophelia passed, and that's the only thing Sutter had left that was attached to Ophelia was this piano. And so now this piano is gone, it's in the wind, it's up there in Pittsburgh, and I don't know what happens in the other realm, but Sutter finds it, because Doker said he's spoiler alert. But,
we're gonna just call it a spoiler alert. That's the name of this episode.
Doker talks about. I saw him 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I saw him 3 weeks ago in the house, and it was around the same exact time Sutter fell in as well. So Sutter had a mission to find his piano, even probably before he died. He still was probably wondering where this piano was at.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so that just probably stick with him until afterlife, and then here he is. Coming into the Charles family house
Right.
with this piano. And he's been there since he fell down that well.
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a lovely conversation that Ranney and I had when you arrived about that the fight really isn't between you and Bernice. It's the ghost is making everybody in the house behave in a way that is not typical.
Yes.
I think that's interesting because it makes the fight larger than life, right? It makes the stakes much higher, right? Which adds an intensity to the play, which I find fascinating.
Yeah.
What's coming up at a public fit? Well, August Wilson's The Piano Lesson marks the final main stage production of the season, but we still have one more staged reading before we hibernate for the summer. And by hibernate, I mean read a ton of plays, put together a season, and continue the unending fundraising process that allows a public fit to continue to produce at the highest level. But before that, Audrey Cephally's Alabaster will close out our 2023 season with performances on June 30th and July 1st back at the Flamingo Library. And if recent emails are any indication, I think we're going to get to manage to come up with a conversation with the playwright herself for that one. So keep hitting your refresh button for the most recent Behind the Buzz. This sounds like an awfully didactic play.
Yes.
This sounds like a play that has a lot of a lot to teach, a lot to share, a lot to show. How does it stay? How does Wilson manage to make it stay entertaining and be a lesson play without being too? It's called The Piano Lesson. How does it manage to be a lesson play without being too didactic, without being too I don't know, knock you over the head with all of the intricacies and raised angry fists?
Well, I believe the blessing is in the curse, and August's writing, it's verse, it's blues verse, but and we've talked a lot about the rhythm.
Yeah.
There's a meter there. If
Yeah.
you listen to it, it's there. It's there. So it's very concentrated and condensed, and I think that's one way, the vehicle of I mean, I'm hesitant to compare him to other playwrights because I don't want to seem like I'm validating August. I don't need to do that. But in the sense of use of language, it's that thing that Shakespeare and Molière and all the greats have done through poetry of moving the plot along within the exercise of the meter.
But I think you've done that exactly right by not comparing them, just by saying Shakespeare, Molière, Wilson.
Right.
I think he's in that strata. There's no need to compare them. They are peers in that use of language.
Right.
Also, what makes it not didactic for me is the love that the family has for each other, in spite of all the language that we have to listen to, right? Yeah. And the way the family tells stories, it's like they're constantly in this mode of sharing stories, sharing history, sharing heritage. They're always at the dinner table. They're always connecting, and you don't really see that a lot anymore with families, right? Everybody's on their phones. Everybody's disconnected. We're embedded in technology, and there's none of that in this.
And they're not always stories that drive the plot forward.
No,
they're not
it's
always
just
stories that are connected to the main thrust of the play.
Also, it's about like older men talking to younger men and sharing their experience. And I found that to be difficult as a director, because I was like, well, how do we make this active? And what's the secret in this scene? And Jason was just like, no, it's just it's just dudes sitting around sharing stories. I was like,
the conversation is active.
Yeah. I'm like, what? Wait, we don't have to. And then as I released into that, I was like, yeah, you're right. This is absolutely, completely seductive.
Yeah.
Watching how the two generations connect with each other.
And it's not as subtle as I think we're sort of pretending it is, because I think even Boy Willie has that moment where he, I won't say attacks is probably too strong a word, but he confronts Bernice about the way she talks to her daughter and suggests that, her life would be easier, she'd be better off if Maritha had been born a boy. And Boy Willie says, don't tell that child that. She is the future. Am I right in thinking that that's a part of this whole idea of passing along?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I said that the language, the compassion he gives his characters. August often takes these characters and says, look, here's, from the exterior, a stereotype, everything about this character. I'm going to pull you into this character's story and make you respect them and understand them, He does it again and again. I love what he does with characters like Troy and Boy Willie and Levy and Floyd and on, where he...
You're throwing a lot of plays at this. Throw some titles out.
I'm sorry.
Some of these characters are not in the piano lesson.
Troy Maxon is the lead in Fences. Obviously. Floyd Barton is 7 guitars. King Hadley II is King Hadley II. Levy is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. August Wilson wrote 10 plays called the Pittsburgh Cycle.
The Century Cycle, the Pittsburgh Cycle, Century Cycle. There's a very specific structure to that cycle too. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. And Ranney, annoyingly to many of his peers and fellow Wilsonians, call it the Mississippi Cycle, because to me, they're from Mississippi, whereas Ma Rainey, they're actually set in Chicago.
So he only played it set
the rest of them are set in Pittsburgh. But he wrote them. It's a matter of the degree of what school you're talking about. But I'm one of those that stick with the fact that he wrote Jitney first. Sure, he changed it a lot later, but he wrote it first as far as the cycle. And then there was Ma Rainey, and I think after Ma Rainey was Joe Turner, Fences, Piano Lesson, and so on and so on. But they cover a decade of African-American culture, mostly in the Hill District in Pittsburgh, from last century.
Yeah.
So you got the teens, you have Joe Turner. You have the 20s, you have Ma Rainey. The 30s, what we're doing now, the piano lesson. 47 guitars, 50s fences, 60s jitney, 70s 2 Trains Running.
I forgot about 2 Trains Running.
Yeah. And 80s King Hedley II, and then the 90s Radio Golf.
Did he finish what he started?
I totally believe he finished, and I'm also one of those who get a bit defensive when people try to turn Radio Golf into a minor play.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about that as I feel about people trying to do that to diminish Pericles. It's just like, well, just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's lesser.
Right.
But I think he finished Radio Golf thoroughly. It was the closest to our times. It's modern time.
Yeah.
So some of the language, the way he used as a device, he shifted. He did it intentionally. It's why the play works. If he would have written a language for those characters who have political aspirations, and who have to be articulate in society, in the way that he wrote a 1947 guitars, it wouldn't make sense. So the poetry shifts a bit, and August was brilliant enough to shift with it in his storytelling, and I think it's just as remarkable as the others. It's not as epic, sure, but it's just as remarkable.
Wow, that was amazing.
And I do want to say this and I don't know, I'm sure Ranney got it, and you probably did too, but there is an Easter egg in the dialogue. Spoiler alert. When Bernice walks down the stairs after Lyman and Boy Willie moves the piano, she says something like, Boy Willie, sit that piano down. God is going to bless you, and West is going to dress you.
Yeah.
West is the funeral director in 2 Trains Running.
Yes.
There's a character named West, and he runs the funeral home, and he's like really great. That's where everybody goes when they have a passed loved one, because he dresses them up really nice, and he's just a popular guy around the Pittsburgh.
I wondered about that line because I've caught people in the audience laughing at it. And I thought, oh, they know something I don't. They're just laughing because it's funny. They are, because that's a deep dive. That line's a deep dive.
Like many of the characters and things they talk about actually exist.
Really?
Yeah. I was just in the Hill District last summer.
Why?
As the director of the Black and White Festival.
Oh, there you go.
At Pittsburgh Playwrights Theater.
Out.
And,
cross-marketing.
Mark Clayton Southers, a very close friend who is the artistic director there, lives physically, geographically at the top of the Hill District.
Oh, wow.
And he was pretty close to August. But when you go, I would go on walks and you see places. You see the location of the Old West, because the natives of the Hill District will inform you that's not where it is now is not where it used to be.
Really?
But the West Funeral Home is there. Wiley is prominent in the Hill District. That's why he brings it up a lot, and that's why in Gem of the Ocean, that's where you can go when you walk down Wiley and see it's just a slab of land at this point, but you can see 18 whatever, I forget the exact number, Wiley Road where Aunt Esther's house is, and as you go through the neighborhood, you can see places that either was Eddie's Restaurant, but now is Grandma B's, I think it's called now. But all these various places exist in many of the characters. Irene Kaufman's Settlement House is a place. All of these, they're all like ingrained in these stories. It's kind of like when you read Zora Neale Hurston's Polk County, and you go, I'm from Polk County, and you go, oh, it's all in there. Yeah.
That's what you're talking to somebody who was born in Las Vegas,
right?
Who has no history, because in Las Vegas here we bulldoze our history and build something new out of plastic on top of it, right? So any little bit of history we hold on to. Well, those of us who are born here hold on to like grim death. I find these things really fascinating.
Yeah, a lot of these characters. I mean, he built them, and of course he synthesized them. Like they do with biopics or anything else, but they're rooted in real people and neighborhoods and communities.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah.
Is that a tour you went on to at all, Jamie? Or
this is some of the stuff he said is new to me too. Like,
it's
if you ever, and I, especially to the artist, but if you're ever in the Hill District or in Pittsburgh, just let me know, and I'll connect you to Mark. He loves to take people on a tour of the Wilsonian landmarks, and he'll take you out to August's grave, and he'll do all of that with you. And
it's a deal.
And he's the best tour guide because he knew August really well. And so when Mark directs you on stage, pointing to places. Wes would have been over here, and then go back to directing you, and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, actually, you wouldn't have parked the water trucks over here, so the watermelons would have been turn right here, and you're like, okay, Mark, all right, gotcha.
But we have the set design.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the set designers from Poughkeepsie.
Maybe you should have had a conversation.
I don't think they know this.
So I hear the cast. I hear the conversations that this play has inspired among the cast. I hear you guys talking backstage. I hear the camaraderie, and I hear just the sort of rhythm of the play living through you even backstage. And we've had a couple buzzes for this, but I've heard you with a couple audience members now, and I wonder if the conversation is different, or if it feels if there are conversations that there's a direction those conversations should take that we're just not aware of. I've stumped the panel.
I mean, I'm just, as an artist in general, just feels like, allow people to extract what they extract.
Yeah.
So whatever conversation it leads. I know with us backstage, each cast is its own unique, cookie.
Sure.
And this one has been no different. I've been having a blast with them. But some of the conversations do come from the spark of the script. Some of it's, and there's a collective decision to do this, but sometimes we detox,
Really?
Yeah, there's just kind of a, whether it's talking about, the latest basketball game or what's going on in politics or someone's particular details of their day when they come in. I think it's a conscious decision as a collective to go, we need a break, and we just kind of go that route. And then in the next minute after detox, you'll see in pairs or in threes or as individuals, okay, it's time to get back into the script and blah, blah, blah. It's just kind of organic, those decisions, but they happen nightly.
So I was outside the dressing room, and I always knock on the guy's dressing room because I don't want to just barge in because I'm a female. You guys could be dressing, so I'm outside the dressing room yesterday, order. And you and Merv are like relating a story. I was like, are they doing a play? It was so alive and vibrant and bright. I was like, this is like a play within a play.
I should say Merv plays your brother in
the
show.
He plays the legendary piano playing Brother Whining Boy. And that's Wining, not Whining.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that.
Very, very, very important to make that distinction.
Yes, thank you. So when you allowed me into the space, and I'm not trying to be morbid, but they were relating where they were during the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah.
And they're like acting out the stories, and it was alive and vibrant, and they weren't talking about anything about the play, but there was a sense of camaraderie and love and brotherhood and really sharing of a very difficult experience.
Yeah.
That sounds like a scene straight out of the play, because I think that happens with it happened with Merv and Ranney. It sounds like it happens with Whining Boy and Doker on stage.
Yeah. And again, August does that. He does these things. I have a buddy across the country right now I talked to earlier today, and we were talking about it. He's playing Red Carter in 7 Guitars out at, they started at Milwaukee Rep. Now they're going to be at Cincinnati Playhouse. But we were talking about how August will take these moments of just two black men talking. And it's just like, but it's very active in the sense of what it's doing. But it's just like, part of it also, it's bifurcative. The dialogue is moving the plot forward in little drops of information, but it's also getting the audience accustomed to something they're not used to seeing. Two black men just enjoying themselves talking. There's no threat here, folks. It's just two black men sitting here talking, you know. You know.
But that's
Don't dial out, don't freak out. That's all it is right now. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. This is something very beautiful that unfortunately in this country you were told to all of a sudden be aware of, or to take notice of in a negative point of view, or to be afraid of. And he's telling you that this is just what it is. You wanted to know. I let you in the room. I took you and put you on the wall as a fly to see. This is what it is right here. You know.
But we didn't see that in other.
It's no more noble, or no more threatening than what you thought you were taught it should be.
Has that affected the way you work, Ranney? Because it sounds like that mentality, and you're giving a lot of credit to Wilson for that, but it sounds like that mentality is something that is a part of comedy, stand-up comedy, and especially your work, a black man telling stories, telling jokes, telling tales.
Yeah, I mean, there are differences I take depending on what I'm doing in the room. You know, I have different approaches as a director than as an actor, as a comedian. But the through line is listening. You know, I got to be allowed to come in. I probably spend a first 3 rehearsals with the cast I'm with, and if you don't know me, is he present? Because I'm listening.
Yeah,
I do a lot of listening, and if I say that, which is really funny for us to be on the podcast together, because my first 2 rehearsals here, Jamie was out sick.
Yeah,
we didn't have Jamie.
Yeah,
and so it was like
we were worried. We thought we were going to replace. I was looking at the script thinking I would have to do the role.
Oh my God! You didn't just say that.
Sorry, I was worried.
when he came in, you know, it was just, you know, instantly to hear the driving motor of the show, which Boy Willie is. Instantly, it was just kind of like. And I think I said things to you and Jason. Like, there were times where there was, and I understand that point of view. I've been in that chair, but there were times where it was a little bit worried as far as where we were. Mm-hmm. And I was, you know, it wasn't I'm not just calm.
There are a lot of words in this play. There are just a lot of words.
I was calm because I knew that we had the motor.
Yeah.
You know, it was just kind of like, well, yeah. It'll come.
Well, Jamie, you came in. I mean, those 2 days, those 2 or 3 days.
I was not calm. I
know. That's why
you were over there just so chill, and I was like, okay.
Oh no, he came in on the 3rd day. I think he was. I can't remember what scene we worked on. I think he was a couple of lines in, and I physically sat back and started reading my script. Like, well, we're fine. We're good. I'm good.
Well, those 2 or 3 days notwithstanding, Jamie, you came in pretty much off book to the first rehearsal.
Once like I said, once I got that role and I read Piano Lesson and I seen how much dialogue Boy Willie had,
lot of words.
I was like, okay, let me get to work right now. I'm not gonna wait until January to do the table read. No, I'm gonna read this play. I'm gonna read it every day. I'm gonna go through my process. So when the first day of rehearsal comes around, I'm so familiar with the story. I'm very familiar with my character, and then we can just work, you know. And yeah, like Anne-Marie and Jason expressed that. Yeah, I drive this play, so I got to be on my A game. Like I got to have my shit together because I don't want for me it's the fear of letting my people down, you know, not coming to rehearsal, not coming to a rehearsal prepared and all of that. Like I wanted to have my shit together. I wanted to have a prototype of Boy Willie with the words already embedded somewhat. You know, I was still kind of on my book, but those monologues I had the monologues memorized already. I got the hard work out the way.
See, and I can't express our gratitude enough because it's frustrating. Emery and I are constantly frustrated. I won't say constantly. There are times when you come across an actor who believes that the only time the work is done is in rehearsal, and forgets that there's a tremendous amount of work that is done outside of rehearsal, at home, going over lines, making choices, breaking down a script into rhythms and beats or whatever it is you're doing.
The imagination of the character.
Yeah, figuring just thinking about that character. And you learn pretty I think, pretty quickly that just time spent in rehearsal wasn't going to be enough.
Oh, heck, no. Because when I read scene 5, look. I read scene 5.
Tell us about scene 5.
So I was reading it, and I'm just like, okay, all right, yeah, he's saying it. By like page 4, where he got another monologue, I literally said, boy, Willie, shut the fuck up.
It's funny.
I literally said that, like, man, he got to shut the hell up, because I'm just thinking as an actor playing this role, I'm like, dude, you saying a lot.
I always remember playing him, you're talking 20 years ago, but I always remember thinking, why don't I just in scene 5 highlight what I don't say? that'll be very short. Yeah.
Can I tell you something though about how scene 5 makes me feel? As the one observing the story, I was really on the side of Bernice, also as a female, and her nurturing and wanting to keep the family close and keeping those things in the family. But then when you start to go through all of your different perspectives in scene 5, I completely buy into your perspective. Mm-hmm. I completely buy in. And because most of the play, you're just, I want the piano, I want the piano, I want the piano, I want the piano. But I don't understand in detail the heart of why you want it until scene 5. And it makes me love you. Mm-hmm. And I get that the burden of having to ingest all of that and manifest that as an actor and as an artist is very challenging, but it's so worth it when you're watching the story. And, as a director, I sit in the house a lot and I observe audiences. And the thing that I love about this play is Wilson does not dumb it down. You have to lean so far in that almost all of the audience is almost on stage with you in order to try and grasp it, right?
And you have to accept that there are mysteries that may not be revealed until late in the second act or inside a story somewhere that you might miss if you're not paying attention.
And also the play is long. Mm-hmm. It's so long, but I've said this to you guys, it's long in time but not in feeling, because it's the complexity, the passion, the investment, the detail that is expressed in scene 5 makes me buy in completely. And the audience is that way too. They are so invested.
I have to point this out because it bespeaks volumes to August's talent as a writer. His first 4 or 5 plays went on Broadway with the same director who we don't talk about enough, the legendary Lloyd Richards, who ran the Yale Repertory Theater back in the day and who was also over the Eugene O'Neill playwriting, which is how he discovered August.
Is he still alive?
No, Lloyd is long gone. But he saw in Ma Rainey the language that pulled him into August, and they developed a relationship, and he ushered first Ma Rainey, then Fences, piano lesson, 7 guitars, and Joe Turner, the first 5 he took to Broadway. And by the way, just a side note, probably most of the African-American actors above my age who made it through Hollywood at some point.
Any above your
age?
At
some point, yeah, right. At some point, they went through training with Lloyd. So I just think someone needs to do that biopic, because you'll tell a lot of stories by telling his story. But I say this to say this. He was known working with playwrights to edit shrewd and unapologetically. Mm. The fact that he did the first 4 to 5 August Wilsons and they average about 230, 245 tells you something.
Yeah.
Mm.
Lloyd was known to edit. So between the two of them, there was the decision that this is just what it is. So you come to it and you say, oh man, Fences is just about 3 hours. I think there was a decision on their part that, you know what, we've done all the trimming. Sorry.
It's not fine anymore.
It's still all there and it still works. It's up to a collective of storytellers to now make it work. But we have taken every angle and every look at it, and we feel like Joe Turner or Piano Lesson or Fences or Two Trains Running.
If it's there, it needs to be there.
It needs to be there. And if you begin to, create a society, which is kind of already happening, like a Shakespearean society or a Moliere society, Wilsonians will talk all the time about how dense it is. And I think when you start talking about that, people get amazed that it's also very lengthy, but it's like, well, no, that happens. James Joyce. It's a lengthy and compressed at the same time.
Well, and entertaining. I don't think it matters one whit if you're compelled, if it's compelling,
No,
and
very
you're
compelling.
Yeah, if you're still married to the material by the time that 2 hour 40-minute rolls around.
And I think August Wilson's work it demands. To me, I feel like it demands a level of talent to do this work because the players are so long. So, a 3-hour play can come off different with a cast that's not like strong enough to hold these characters up.
This is the premiere of this play in Las Vegas. I don't think the Piano Lesson has been done in Las Vegas until this production. And if somebody out there knows that I'm wrong, please tell me, because I've been telling people that. But I think that's actually true. And it may be in the state of Nevada
or something like that.
Here, I don't think so.
Majestic is
No, Majestic.
No, Majestic didn't do Piano
Lesson.
Okay.
someone mentioned to me, so I don't know.
No, they in 16 that might have been Octoroon, but not that's a Brandon Jacobs Jenkins.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted you, Jamie, but it hasn't been done here. Maybe we were waiting for you to come along.
All of us, it's crazy.
It's a hell of a cast. I have to say.
The universe just conspired us to tell this beautiful story to come along in Vegas. You and Jason, the origin of the idea of bringing up the Piano Lesson and wanted to do it here, and then everything just seemed to just come together. Everything that we all needed to tell this story, and like the cast is, me just want to be on the outside looking in. It's just amazing. Ranney playing Doker is amazing. Merv, Lamore, Mario, Aries, even little Moritha, played by Phoenix. It's
absolutely
just
adorable.
So perfect. And then
she's playing way above her, hitting way above her weight. She's 9 playing 12.
9 playing
11. No, 9 playing 11.
Yeah, going to turn 12 soon. But then in turn around, and we have Anne-Marie and Jason, like two different type of directors. I feel like just come together to tell the story. Like it just everything just fell right into place. And I'm not gonna lie, like just hearing all this feedback from the Piano Lesson is it's crazy.
You guys are getting raves.
It's beautiful. It's a blessing, and I'm just so glad to be doing it. And doing it with this cast, like and the crew. Shout out to the CSN crew. They've been.
When you're on this side of it, right? And now that you guys are getting all these rave reviews and standing ovations, but I remember when I called Nate, I called Nate. I was like, I don't have a Doker.
And we lost an actor.
When do you start rehearsal? In 3 days. He's like, I don't know anybody in town. I don't care. Do you know anybody out of town? He goes, oh yeah. And I was like, so, but how the cast came together. So going through it, it was very scary because I didn't know how it was all going to work out. I had to just kind of ride the train. Speaking of train, I had to ride the train of hope.
There's a strange level of serendipity in so many ways.
How Merv ended up back into the cast. He was originally Whining Boy, and then because of his circumstances, he had to go away, and then he came back. So it all came together. But I feel like I had to just. And as a director, I will freely admit on this podcast, there is a level of control that you like to maintain in rehearsal. And I had to kind of let things happen in order for the cast to come together.
There's also, to be really honest and straightforward, this cast has a different culture than any sort of I think, ensemble that we've ever worked with before. There is a, speaking about the rhythm of the language, there's a rhythm to this cast that I've never seen in any other show before. Just the culture of the way they've approached the play feels really different to me. Am I speaking out of school, or does that sound appropriate?
Yeah, I mean, no, you're not. There's something about Wilson is almost like a master jazz composer.
That's it.
In the sense that, my favorite jazz or musician, period, really, is Thelonious Monk. Look for Ranney's one-man show about Thelonious Monk in the fall, entitled Thelonious in Action.
That's you've been working on. Is it
Cross
going to be
marketing.
ready for the fall? Are you ready? Are you going to be ready in the fall?
It'll be ready in the fall to preview.
Okay.
But he used to say, Thelonious Monk, one of my favorite quotes, and I apply it to everything I do, you're making all the wrong mistakes. I love that quote because it's telling you should be making mistakes, but it's about finding the right ones. It's about exploring. It's about all of that kind of stuff. So I feel like when you're doing Wilson, you have to understand that you have to bring it and put it on the table. It's almost like having a communal gathering that the community has with a playwright of that level, you have to come in and everybody has to present what they're putting on the table. And you can't make any decision too quickly because it's all about even the smallest. I remember playing Hambone in Two Trains Running, who basically says the same lines over and over again. And I was so grateful to work with a crew that understood that all of those words were just as important as Memphis tirades throughout the diner, who's the lead character. Well, it's the same here. It's like, it's essential Boy Willie is the driving force. If our Maritha's off, we're off.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she's not. But all of his plays are such communal plays, and it sounds strange to say that because he's handed us these like Herculean characters to play from an actor point of view when you play the leads, and we love the challenges of it each time.
Well, you've made the comparisons to jazz and to music and to rhythms, but it's no soloist. It's an ensemble. It's a quintet.
Precisely,
it's a quartet.
Precisely.
It's whoever.
Always. Because even when Boy Willie's out front, to stay with the metaphor, blowing his horn, we have to still be in the background, be right on with the bass and the piano. Everything has to still be in the right order. If we fall out, then we're not supporting him. If he falls out, then we fall out. So it's just, he writes very tight ensemble pieces, but it's like he extracted that from sitting in, restaurants or dives or whatever on street corners, really paying attention to the vernacular of the community in which he grew up, and then began to apply it later when he was kind of a artist in residence at Penumbra up in Minnesota. Yeah.
Well, I definitely feel that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it worked out in that way so that you guys could all be in tune, taking that metaphor, to the next level.
It's a series of remarkable performances. We're very proud of it. I hope that listeners to this podcast have enjoyed it and have gotten a little bit more
from
this
see
sort
us.
of behind the scenes chat. I suspect that by the time we get this podcast out, it might have closed. So there's going to be, I think it
Come
might have
see
closed.
us anyway.
Right.
You heard us talking about ghosts.
Go back in time and see.
The ancestor performance will be.
Is there anything else? Is there anything else you want to plug, Ranney? I know you're working on a bunch of stuff, and you've got some dates coming up. I think, don't you?
Yeah. I don't know if anyone will be around. It's not in Vegas, but
we have listeners in Greece, for God's sake. You'd be amazed. I'm not even kidding. We get the logistics back on this podcast. I'm flabbergasted at people listening to us in London and in Greece. It blows my mind.
Cool.
The Strass Center in Tampa, which is kind of like the Tampa Bay area's answer to the Lincoln or the Kennedy Center. But they're doing a production of Crowns I'll be directing that'll go up May, I think, 14th and run for 3 weekends. And then I'll be in the Berkshires with Shakespeare and Company. I have on my T-shirt here. Playing Gabriel and Fences across from Tony Todd of Candyman fame.
Oh, right on.
And Ella Joyce, who was in the sitcom Rock with Charles Dutton, who played Boy Willie.
For the original Boy Willie.
Yeah. I got those, and then some splash of stand-up dates in between, and then this fall is all about Thelonious.
Oh, I'm anxious to see what you do with that.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah. I'll keep everyone updated.
Jamie, got anything to plug?
Nah.
What's next for you after this?
He's gonna move.
Move to LA.
You're kidding?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What about all these shows I have planned for you next year? For fuck's sake. What?
Oh, I'm still accessible, but I'm gonna be in LA. Yeah.
It's only 4 hours.
So yeah, it's only 4 hours away. Jump, hop, skip.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just gonna be out there. I'm very, very curious of what my energy is gonna attract out there.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to go out there. Just something in my spirit just tells me to go out there and just see what's up, and that's something that I have to do. So
right on.
Just gonna see what's up.
Good luck.
Going out there and wake up an LA family.
Yeah, I'm gonna wake up somebody at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Well, that's gonna finish us off for this episode of Behind the Buzz. It's episode 6 of season 3. Much thanks again to Jamie Maurice Clay and to Ranney for opening up about August Wilson's The Piano Lesson. This play truly represents so much about why we at APF do theater in the first place. It certainly spurred, the conversations along. And that here at A Public Fit, we are all about the conversation. You can help keep that conversation alive by not just subscribing, but also by giving us a quick review or a one-click rating. Not only is your feedback important, but it helps guide us as we try to deliver the topics and interviews that interest you the most. Aside from the Contact Us button on our website, you can get in touch with us through a separate email. Write this down. It's behindthebuzz@apublicfit.org. There's just so much to talk about. Behind the Buzz is a product of A Public Fit Theater Company. It is directed by Anne-Marie Pereth and me, Joe Kucan, and is recorded, mixed, and edited by the spectacular Diane Walton.